A little bit of backstory. I was browsing my social media of choice when I saw a mutual of mine shell this game for $2. I started to play it, got S rank on the first 5 levels, got a red S rank on 6th level, and I proceeded to go through hell. Well, at least that's what it felt like. I initially intended this video to just show how to get capital S rank in all 7 worlds, since no one else has uploaded anything. But I got the first place on the leaderboard when I beat the game, and I was a minute ahead of second. So now it's going to show how I got ahead of everyone. I'll just say that the first 2 worlds are what developed the philosophy I had while I played the rest of the game, so I claim no responsibility for quote-unquote subverting my mutual's God-intended level progression. Enjoy. Now, that might have looked easy, and yeah, that's the thing. The first 7 levels are just short enough for the dopamine-starved playtesters that getting a red S rank wouldn't leave a tool-assisted run with much room to improve. 1-4 was the hardest one for me to get as a new player. Asking me to use 3 jump pads at the end and to get a time under 9.10 was a bit cruel. I spent a good hour trying to get the capital S ranks in the first world, 1-4 taking most of my time. And the overall lesson I learned is that if I want to get the others, I'll have to keep whittling my time down to the frame. 2-1 isn't really all that special. Just make sure you place a teleporter before you go down and get the key so you can actually end the level. Or you don't have to do any of that. You can just jump over the wall and end the level like that without having to worry about the key. I can't believe the dev found this before I did. In the patch notes of the classic mode update, the dev talked about how the intended path for some of the levels weren't being followed by the player base. Looking at this run of 2-3, I'm reminded of the time I put into perfecting this intended route, thinking that the red S rank was just a frame away. The game didn't tell me what time was needed for any rank, so I had no idea how far it actually was. Eventually, I got too frustrated and moved on to other levels. This section is just me trying to beat 2-5 the intended way. You can skip this if you want, it's only like 3 minutes long, but I think I'll use this time to rant, if you will. I've already stated that the game demanded perfection from those that wanted the red S rank. Frankly, I found it unreasonable, but the dev didn't really intend for regular players to go for it, which is why there's no achievements for getting them, or anything about them. His reason was essentially that ignorance is bliss, and it's okay to let people enjoy things, implying that if some knew, then they would feel obligated to go after them. I think. Probably had me in mind, who knows. Regardless of that, I didn't plan to be the regular player after I stumbled upon the hidden 5th rank on 2-1, the easiest one to get at this point, so it didn't take long for the bliss to disappear. Not that I wanted it to linger. I don't think that there's anyone who would rather have the wool pulled over their own eyes. You could just tell them and they could simply acknowledge the information and move on. Not me though. My time and fractured soul will not allow me to just ignore the fact that there's a hidden 5th rank and to leave the times to get them a mystery. So I decided to get to the end of the game and to post all the times required to get the Sturchstoffel ranks. Well, unfortunately, some roadblocks would show up quite early in my quest to do so when I revisited 1-4 and came across 2-3 and 2-5. These 3 levels were straight up unreasonable, and while I may have gotten the 5th rank on 1-4, the process was just mind-numbing, and I wasn't too happy about the time I had to spend on it. At 2-3, I got to the point of trying to emulate a task run, jumping down to the entrance instead of falling in front of it, placing a portal barely inside, then turning around to activate the switch, and the moment you do that, phase and warp inside. Trying to do that in 3 seconds, double checking, and under 2 actually. It's resulting in a lot of restarts. I should have wised up and cut my losses when I couldn't get past the 10 whatever second barrier. I can't remember the time, but that would matter no more when I actually did have a breakthrough in my attempts, finally seeing a new time and being awarded with a minor S rank. Like I said, I moved on frustrated and defeated. I employed the same tactics on 2-5, doing this very route. You might notice that if you press the jump button before you land on the jump pads, you'll go higher up. Apparently the dev intended for people to find this tidbit out in the EX levels. Never did try those out. I was just spamming the jump button, saw that happen, went back to 2-4, got the 5th rank, and I came back here. You can take a good guess and figure out that this level took a while to get an S rank. I think I'll stop my rant here. After going through all of that, I was finally able to end the level, and I was greeted with... At this point, I was mentally disillusioned with my goal, but let's go back to 2-3. We got some new information after all. You see that? You know what we can do? Maybe I was in denial, but I did try to figure out how to implement the jump pad in the original route at first. But hey, while I'm at it, I'll show you what you're actually supposed to do in 2-5 as well. Intended path be damned! This game had played me for a fool. But after this revelation, I would be insulted no more. It pushed me down to my limits, and the time had come to pull it down with me. While eternalizing the lesson from the last 2 levels, what I didn't know is that mostly for the rest of the game, the intended path was the only path they thought of. Something that probably could have told me this was, ironically, the time requirements that appear after every level clear. Bit of a catch-22 if it was there from the start and if it listed the 5th rank. So without the knowledge of the dev's time, I naturally assumed that the dev undermined his own level design and perfected every route he used to do so. If you notice the drop in frames on this world, well... I did my best to make it watchable. I feel like 3-5 has gone through a sizable amount of revisions when it comes to routing. The first lap of Steve rank time I got was 33.91. When I got sub 10, it was 32.04. I imagine that they mostly follow the dev's path, if not faster.
Classic Sub 10 was 29.76, and on this route, I think the only breakthrough was leaving a portal behind when you go to get the green key. You can press C on the keyboard while being blown, and it will let you phase so you won't die by those electric fences. Unless, of course, it's at the start of the level, because the dev thought it was a really cool idea to use the portal instead of the phase ability to deal with the electric fence there. Anywho, on my mission to get sub 9, I didn't like that I mostly followed the intended path, so I brainstormed a little bit, and if I found this route earlier, he would have most definitely made sure that this was not possible. Four-2 is a World 1 level that lost its way. Got nothing to say about it except getting the scrap piece really did challenge me. The solution to getting, however, is something I did use later in 4-5, so I guess it was helpful. I'm at a loss as to how there's such a gap between the minor S rank and my time. Then again, it could be like 2-5 with its ridiculous window of obtaining the 4th rank. I should probably ask the dev what the intended path was. Another thing to note is that you can get the scrap piece and the 5th rank in one attempt. Four would be my most hated level if not for the one that comes later down the line, and that the crow only pushes you to keep moving, which is something you're already doing when you're trying to get the Sweetie Squad rank. This is the attempt that pushed me under 9 minutes on the leaderboard. I would apologize to Shanluki for not letting the Electric Resurrection play in the background if it wasn't for the fact that the music stopped playing during my attempts. Don't know why, it just did. Let's just talk about the jump portal jump. If you're having trouble with leaving a portal just low enough so you can grab the key and not activate the switch again, what helped me was making sure my fingers didn't leave the keyboard when I rapid fired the execution. Jump portal is the setup, jump or portal is what's executed. Another thing to note, you can hug the wall and slowly descend. And I also think that hugging the cliff will steal your jump. I've seen it happen in Fractured Soul, and it will happen here. I guess I'm obligated to talk about 5-2 since the dev didn't like the fact that I just jumped my way to the end. I showed this recording to him and he decided to change the level in the classic mode. Honestly, I thought he would have extended the roof from the other building so I couldn't jump at all. 5-5, I used to place a portal the moment I could move, so when I got to the cyan key, I could just work back and go to the right and fall down and get the purple key. But I realized I didn't need to do that second part, and I simply jump over the purple key block. This world was the game striking back at me for undermining the developer's intentions. I used to place a portal before I went to get the hooded figure so I wouldn't have to make my way back up, but I spent way too long in trying to hop over the key block that's there to steal your only key like a gypsy waiting to spring its trap. I had to stop using that route and make 2 trips to place a portal above that block that was doing a sit-in. I have nothing positive to say about this level. 6-2 is not as bad, but when you activate the door, it has this neat quirk of blocking your movement when it's open and when you're walking above it. It was really annoying and I had to work around that in my routing. "6-4 is the level I hate the most. I've tried to think of any way I could not do the intended route, but since I'm stuck with one portal/phase to use, I was forced into doing what the developer wanted, and what he wants is to punish you. I cannot tell you the amount of times I've died and restarted on this level. It's not hard, there's just many points of failure." At this point, I was getting set scene tag ranks left and right. The challenge I had in the first 2 worlds was a distant memory. The task-like nature of the first world only showed up on 4-2, 5-1, and 6-2. And when I read the classic update patch notes, I guess the dev didn't like the lesson I learned in World 2. When I got to 7-4, I was just doing what I did for the other levels, getting the scrap piece first, then playing it again to get the solid snake rank. But not this time, because it just gave it to me with 10 seconds to spare. The difficulty the game put up was gone long ago. I'm obligated to mention the classic version of 7-4. The dev didn't like my 19.8 second run, so he put an electric fence in my way. I thought he was going to remove the knockoff Princess Peach, but he didn't, so I simply went to the right instead, and I got a similar time.
7-5 has been through a few revisions. First time was 36.33, sub 10 was 32.03, and for this sub 9 run, I decided to stop using the key immediately after getting it so I could place a portal above the green key block before doing the rest of my route. Now, I simply made sure that it was possible to make my way up without whatever this dead corpse is supposed to be. I used the winds to my advantage like I did in 3-5. It's funny how in both of those levels I got the Steam ship rank with a whole lot of time to spare. Maybe the playtesters were too busy frying their attention spans to think of some not so obvious routes.
And that's Afterlife Reverie. That's how they say it over at Bongland. I haven't played the EX levels because there's no achievements for them, and I think I've made my mark already. I might go back to Super Crazy Guitar Maniac Deluxe 4 or Fractured Soul, or I could actually finish my playthrough of Grandia. Whichever, I'll pester my mutual with other platformers in the meantime.